Chosen one, lean in, because this is not an ordinary moment. Heaven has orchestrated this pause in your timeline so you could receive this message. You may think you've simply survived another season, but in truth, you've passed a divine test that was never announced. God watched the way you handled the silence, the delay, the disappointment, and though you didn't see him, he saw you. There are times when heaven removes the signs, the confirmations, and the familiar voices, just to see what remains when everything else is stripped away. That's what happened to you. You were not being ignored, you were being observed. The silence wasn't punishment, it was promotion in disguise. You endured what others walked away from. You stayed when leaving looked easier. You believed even when believing hurt. That quiet faith, that steady endurance, became your offering. Heaven took note of every single moment you whispered, "God, I still trust you." Those moments reached higher than your loudest praise ever could. Chosen one, hear this clearly. The darkness was never proof of distance. It was proof of your strength. You stood still while storms raged. You chose peace when anxiety screamed. You refused to curse the process. And that's why heaven is now turning the page on your behalf. You are stepping into the reward prepared for those who endure unseen tests with unseen faith. The tests you faced were not meant to destroy you, but to define you. Each tear watered the soil of your next season. Each night of silence stretched your capacity for divine strength. God allowed what felt like loss to become proof of your loyalty. The very thing that tried to break you became the foundation beneath your feet. The truth is, you didn't even know you were being examined. Heaven watched the way you forgave quietly, the way you helped others while hurting, the way you refused to let bitterness enter your heart. You didn't realize that was the exam, and you passed it flawlessly. Now heaven whispers, it's time. Doors will open that were long shut. The heaviness will lift. The blessings that were delayed are about to locate you. You've proven trustworthy in private. Now you'll be favored in public. Beloved, don't question how this will happen. Just know that heaven's system never forgets obedience. You've already been approved, already been marked, already been chosen for a higher assignment. The waiting season was your preparation. The reward season will be your revelation. According to what is revealed in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8, verse 2, remember how the Lord your God led you through the wilderness to humble and test what was in your heart. That verse is the mirror of your story. The wilderness wasn't punishment, it was proving. God wasn't trying to break you, he was revealing you. You didn't fail the wilderness, you graduated from it. The same God who tested your heart in silence is now ready to reward your faith in sight. Heaven saw when you kept walking, even with trembling steps. Every time you whispered prayers through tears. The angels recorded it. You thought you were losing strength, but you were gaining wings. What felt like delay was sacred construction. Heaven building you quietly for a season that requires divine stability. Beloved, every lonely night was a lesson in divine dependency. You learned to lean on the unseen, to trust what could not be touched. That's the foundation of your calling. You now carry unshakable faith, faith that moves mountains, not because it is loud, but because it has been tested and proven. Now, the wilderness has become your testimony. You no longer fear emptiness. You recognize it as the birthplace of revelation. You walk lighter now, wiser now, closer to the heart of heaven. What once crushed you has now crowned you. You are emerging as living proof that endurance always precedes elevation. Chosen one. Stand tall. What once felt like delay will soon feel like divine timing. Every unseen act of faith is now unfolding as visible favor. Heaven has not forgotten you. Heaven is rewarding you. If this word has touched something deep within your spirit, take a prophetic step of agreement right now. Like, share, and comment as your declaration of faith. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, because this is just the beginning of what heaven is unveiling for you. Type the number 77 below as your sign of readiness. It's not superstition, it's alignment. It's your way of saying, I understand, I endured, and I'm ready for what heaven has written next. Chosen one. Though the world may not have noticed, heaven saw every hidden battle you've fought, the sleepless nights, the quiet tears, the weight on your chest that you carried without complaint. None of it was wasted. Every unseen struggle became a sacred offering, an incense rising before the throne. You thought it was just life being hard, but it was heaven measuring your faithfulness in the unseen. There are seasons when God hides his face not to forsake you, but to refine you. You were not being ignored, you were being watched. Every time you resisted the temptation to retaliate, every time you forgave instead of fighting back, every time you chose love over bitterness, heaven took note. You didn't need an audience because the host of heaven was already present. Beloved, the unseen realm is more active than you think. The very moments that seemed insignificant to you were holy assignments in disguise. You were being trained to rule in silence, to carry divine power without recognition. Heaven was documenting your reactions, not your results. The test was not about what you could achieve, it was about what you could endure without losing your light. When you wept and said, "No one understands," heaven whispered, "We see you." When you kept praying though the answers didn't come, your perseverance echoed louder than any sermon. The enemy tried to convince you that you were forgotten. But the truth is, your unseen obedience was being recorded as worship. The angels assigned to your destiny stood watch as you faced invisible wars. Every spiritual attack you overcame became a testimony in the courts of heaven. You fought battles in silence that would have destroyed others. You stood when your strength was gone. And because of that, heaven now calls you victorious, chosen one. The pain you endured in private became heaven's evidence that you were ready for more. You see, not all battles are meant to be public. Some wars are fought in whispers, in tears, in prayers that never reach another human ear. Those are the victories that move heaven the most, the ones no one sees but God. Your faith became a fragrance. The aroma of your endurance filled the atmosphere around you. What others saw as quiet suffering, heaven saw as sacred strength. You have walked through invisible fires and come out refined, not ruined. You are stronger than the storm that tried to silence you. This is why you often feel misunderstood. It's because your story is not meant to make sense to everyone. The call on your life is not public entertainment, it is private covenant. There are things you've endured that only heaven could explain. And when others judged your silence, God defended your obedience. There is something powerful about hidden battles. They birth hidden victories. They shape unshakable faith. They teach you to lean on God when no one else can carry you. You have been walking through one of the greatest refinements of your journey, and you didn't even realize it. Heaven's eyes never left you, not once. We are reminded through the writings of the Apostle Paul. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. Since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside sin and run enduring. Those witnesses, the unseen ones, watched your story unfold. The angels, the saints, and the heavenly hosts saw your resilience. They saw you choose light over darkness. They saw you forgive the unforgivable. They saw you love those who wounded you. And each time, heaven rejoiced, because every act of endurance became a declaration that your faith is real. This is the part of your story no one else could write. You have been running a race designed just for you, a narrow path carved by divine intention. Every obstacle was tailored to build spiritual muscle, to strengthen your resolve, to purify your motives. You've been trained not for comfort, but for calling. Chosen one. The reason your battles were hidden is because your reward will be holy. God does not waste pain. He transforms it into power. The hidden battles built a foundation that cannot be shaken. You've become a warrior who doesn't fight for attention, but for purpose. Even now, heaven records your perseverance. Every quiet moment of faith is still echoing in eternity. And soon, those echoes will return as answered prayers, as breakthrough, as restoration. What you sowed in tears will come back multiplied in joy. Your hidden obedience has authorized heaven to release new authority over your life. You have proven trustworthy with little, now you will be trusted with much. You have shown heaven what endurance looks like in human form. You have become the evidence that faith can thrive even in silence. So, rest your heart. The one who saw your hidden pain is preparing your visible reward. You are surrounded by witnesses, by angels, by grace. Heaven has already declared the outcome. You have won. Even when no one knew you were fighting, the stage of your testing is closing, and the curtain of your reward is rising. Every unseen battle has prepared you for what is next. You are not the same person who entered the fire. You are the proof that divine endurance cannot be broken. Chosen one. You have carried more than most will ever understand. The weight that sat on your spirit was not punishment, it was preparation. Every burden that pressed upon your shoulders was heaven's tool to build strength within you. You thought you were being crushed, but in truth, you were being constructed. The breaking was the making. The pressure was the process. You see, God does not waste struggle. Every ounce of pain has purpose. The loneliness that seemed unbearable was actually divine isolation, designed to deepen your roots. You couldn't grow while surrounded by noise. So heaven allowed a quiet season where only your spirit could hear his whisper. You didn't know it then, but you were being trained in silence for leadership in light. The weight you carried taught you humility. It taught you to trust God's unseen hand. When everything familiar disappeared, you discovered that his presence was enough. That's why the enemy attacked you so hard, not because you were weak, but because you were becoming dangerous to the darkness. The more pressure that came against you, the more heaven expanded your capacity to carry glory. You have been misunderstood because your journey doesn't fit human logic. People saw your exhaustion, but never knew the warfare behind it. They saw your calm, but not your battles. Yet, every unseen sacrifice reached heaven's record books. You didn't fall apart. You fell into divine hands. And every time you rose again, the enemy's plans lost power. Beloved, there is a mystery in the way God refines his chosen. He hides them under heavy weight, not to bury them, but to root them. You were never forgotten. You were being fortified. And now, as heaven lifts the burden, you'll realize it wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal you. You have carried the weight of promises that seemed delayed. You've prayed prayers that returned with silence. You've walked through doors that closed in your face. But through it all, your faith refused to die. That faith has become your signature in the spiritual realm, the mark that identifies you as one who cannot be shaken. We are reminded through the words of Paul to the Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." So don't despise the weight you carried. It built the foundation for your next season. You can now handle pressure without breaking, authority without arrogance, blessing without distraction. Heaven trusted you with burden because heaven planned to trust you with influence. The weight you bore was training for the weight of glory you will soon carry. This is why the enemy's attacks intensified right before your peace returned. He saw what was coming. He knew that once you stood firm under pressure, you would become unshakable. You are walking proof that the human heart, filled with divine strength, cannot be defeated. Every tear was counted, every trial documented, every endurance moment rewarded. Heaven has not forgotten a single detail of your faith journey. The crown that awaits you was shaped by your perseverance. You did not break, you bloomed. Now, heaven whispers again, it is time, time for the lifting, the revealing, the restoration. The season of carrying unseen weight is ending, and the season of visible favor is beginning. You are crossing from hidden refinement into open recognition. You've paid the price in tears, now comes the return in testimony. Chosen one, let this truth settle deeply within you. Nothing you carried was wasted. Not one hardship went unnoticed. Every weight had meaning, and every burden had beauty. You are emerging lighter, stronger, and ready. Before you move forward, declare this moment. Write it in your spirit. Seal it in your words. Comment below, "I rise again." Those 3 words are not just a phrase, they are a prophetic act. When you type them, you are aligning with heaven's decree over your life. You are declaring to every unseen force that tried to hold you down that you are no longer bound by the weight of yesterday. "I rise again" is your statement of resurrection, your confirmation that you have overcome. Say it with conviction. Let those words echo in your spirit. You are no longer the same person who entered the storm. You are transformed, refined, and empowered. The fire did not consume you. It commissioned you. The battle did not break you. It built you. The burden did not bury you. It birthed you. Heaven rejoices over your endurance. The same angels who watched you carry pain now celebrate your release. You are stepping into divine momentum, where everything that once delayed you will now accelerate in your favor. Remember this. Chosen one, the weight was never the end of you, it was the making of you. You carried it well. You endured it faithfully. And now, you are about to walk freely in the reward that was written for you before time began. Chosen one. Do you remember those seasons when heaven seemed silent, when your prayers bounced off invisible walls and your faith felt unanswered? That silence wasn't rejection, it was revelation. God was speaking through the stillness, teaching you to hear his whisper when every other sound faded away. You thought he had turned away, but he was closer than ever. testing the volume of your trust. The silence of heaven is never empty. It is sacred ground where faith is purified. In the absence of noise, you learn to discern presence. You learned that faith isn't proven when you hear God's voice, it's proven when you can't, yet still choose to believe. That's what this test was about. You were walking through the unseen classroom of heaven, and you didn't even realize you were enrolled. When heaven went silent, your character began to speak. Your heart became the stage of the divine exam. Would you still praise without proof? Would you still worship without a word? You did, and that's when heaven took notice. The silence was never about abandonment, it was about endurance. God wanted to see if your devotion depended on dialogue or on trust. There are moments when God hides not to hurt you, but to heal you. He removes the constant confirmations so you can stand on what you already know. That's when you realize faith isn't about feelings, it's about alignment. It's about staying true when there's no sign, no signal, no visible hand. That's where real maturity is born. Beloved, the silence was your training ground. You learned to walk by faith, not by sight. You learned to move forward without visible direction, trusting the internal compass of your spirit. Every unanswered prayer became a lesson in endurance. Every delay became a doorway to deeper dependence. Heaven's quiet was the canvas upon which God painted your resilience. Many lose their way when heaven grows still. But you didn't. You stood when you could have surrendered. You believed when you could have doubted. That choice to keep believing without hearing is what separates those who serve for blessing from those who serve from love. You proved that your faith is not conditional. It's covenantal. It doesn't depend on what God gives, it depends on who He is. In that stillness, you discovered something priceless. His silence is not absence, it's attention. The teacher is always silent during the test. And in that silence, heaven watched how you would respond. Would you panic? Or would you trust? Would you run to distractions? Or remain in discipline? You waited. And that waiting turned into worship. You were being stretched, refined, and matured. The silence strengthened your discernment. You learned to recognize God not just by His words, but by His ways. You learned to identify His presence in peace, His voice in stillness, His approval in the simple fact that you still stand. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, Psalm chapter 46, verse 10, "Be still, and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." That stillness you endured was not emptiness, it was intimacy. God was inviting you into deeper knowing. He didn't need to speak because you were learning to sense. You began to feel His presence in the pauses, His guidance in the gaps. That kind of awareness cannot be taught. It can only be birthed in silence. Chosen one, the silence trained you for stability. You now carry a peace that can withstand storms, a confidence that doesn't crumble when heaven is quiet. You've learned to stand firm on God's promises, even when His plan remains hidden. That's divine maturity, the ability to keep walking even when the path disappears beneath your feet. This quiet faith you've developed will sustain you in the next season. You won't panic when others do. You won't chase noise because you've learned to find comfort in calm. You've become fluent in the language of silence, and heaven smiles upon you for it. The silence shaped your strength, not your sorrow. You may have entered it trembling, but you're leaving it transformed. You now understand that silence isn't a void, it's a vow. It's God's way of saying, I trust you enough to let you walk without sight. So, take a deep breath. Chosen one. The silence was not the end of your story. It was the deep breath before the new chapter. The words are coming again. The answers are forming. But this time, you'll hear them differently through the filter of the faith you forged in stillness. Heaven is not ignoring you. Heaven has been watching you become unshakable. And that is far more valuable than any immediate answer could ever be. You have proven that your relationship with God is not built on constant reassurance, but on unwavering trust. The silence was your test. Your endurance was your answer. And your faith has passed with divine distinction. Chosen one. You remember that moment, the one where everything in you wanted to quit, when it felt like the weight of the world was pressing against your chest, and your strength was fading faster than your hope. The voices around you grew quiet, but the whispers of darkness grew louder. Give up. They said, it's not worth it. You've done enough. And yet, you didn't. You stood. You stayed. You believed. You see, the temptation to quit is the final test before breakthrough. It is the enemy's last attempt to keep you from stepping into what's already written for you. The pressure intensifies not because you're losing, but because you're close. When everything in your life felt like it was collapsing, heaven was actually reordering your steps. The adversary wanted to convince you that surrender was safety. But heaven whispered, hold on. You obeyed that whisper. Even when your heart felt numb, your spirit refused to let go. That small act of endurance changed everything. It wasn't loud faith, it was quiet resilience. That's what made the heavens lean closer. Chosen one. Every person who has ever carried divine purpose faced that moment of temptation to walk away from destiny for the sake of temporary relief. But you didn't. You kept walking even when the road disappeared. You trusted even when trust made no sense. You stayed faithful when your emotions screamed for release. That's why heaven honors you. Because you chose to stay in alignment instead of choosing comfort. You passed a test that few recognize, the test of perseverance. The crown that's being prepared for you is not given to those who ran fast, it's given to those who refused to stop. Your ability to stand still when everything shouted quit became the loudest sermon your life could ever preach. You didn't need an audience, your endurance itself was worship. Heaven marked that moment, the day you stayed when you could have surrendered. Beloved, the truth is, strength is not measured by how loudly you roar in battle. It's measured by how deeply you breathe when you're tired, but still choose to move forward. God saw that breath. He saw you pushing through when no one else could see your war. We are reminded through the writings of Paul to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That's your verse. That's your reality. You are standing at the edge of that appointed time. The harvest you can't yet see has already been scheduled. You're closer to manifestation than you think. Every moment you refuse to quit was a seed in the soil of your future. Those seeds are about to bloom. Chosen one. I know the journey hasn't been easy. You've lost things that mattered. You've faced people who misunderstood your heart. You've endured storms that should have broken you. But through it all, your spirit never gave up on God, and God never gave up on you. When you felt too tired to pray, your tears prayed for you. When your heart was too heavy to hope, heaven carried your hope for you. That's how loved you are. You were never walking alone, even in the silence. And now, the shift has begun. The atmosphere is changing. The pain that once paralyzed you will soon become the story that propels you. You've earned every scar, and those scars will now shine as proof that grace is greater than grief. Beloved, as you receive this word, pause and breathe. Feel heaven's acknowledgement. You have come so far. You've survived what was meant to stop you. You've learned to keep standing, even when standing hurt. And now, it's time to lift your head. If these words are stirring something deep inside you, let this moment be your gentle reminder you're not alone in this journey. There's a family of chosen ones walking the same path of purpose, each one rising through pain and perseverance. Stay connected. Stay encouraged. Take a moment to like this message, not for algorithm's sake, but as your quiet amen, your way of saying, yes, I receive this. Share it if you feel someone else might need to remember that their breaking point is not their ending point. You never know whose hope you might reignite by simply sharing light. And if you haven't yet, subscribe so you won't miss the next divine message heaven places here for you. This space isn't just a channel, it's a sanctuary for the chosen, a place where your spirit can find strength again. Each word here is prayed over, written to remind you that your journey still matters. Chosen one, the temptation to quit was your turning point. You stayed the course, and now, heaven moves on your behalf. The reward will not be delayed. You will see fruit from the soil that once felt barren. You will understand why quitting was never an option. Hold on a little longer. The dawn is closer than it seems, and when the light finally breaks, you'll realize the waiting was never wasted. It was weaving your destiny together, one faithful breath at a time. Chosen one, do you remember the moment when everything inside you was breaking, yet something unseen held you together? That was heaven taking note of you. The very instant you thought no one saw your pain, the eyes of God were fixed on your perseverance. You didn't know it, but heaven was documenting your faith as victory. There are moments in your life that seem unimportant to the world, but are monumental in the spirit realm. The way you kept loving when others turned cold. The way you continued giving when you had so little. The way you stayed kind when the world grew cruel. Heaven saw it all. Those weren't random acts, they were sacred proofs that your heart still belongs to God. Chosen one, you were being watched not with judgment, but with divine admiration. The Father looked down and said, "This one still believes." That declaration echoed through eternity. You may not have heard it, but heaven did. The sound of your quiet endurance reached places beyond human understanding. Angels recorded every moment your spirit refused to bow to fear. It was never about your perfection, it was about your persistence. You kept showing up when your heart was heavy. You kept believing, even when faith felt fragile. Every time you whispered, "I trust you," through tears, you shook the gates of hell. You silenced the accusations of the enemy by simply not giving up. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being celebrated. The very moment you held on to hope was the moment heaven marked as triumph. You didn't need trumpets or applause. Your endurance was its own sound of victory. The truth is, God takes note of what people overlook. He counts your tears, your prayers, your sacrifices. Not one moment of faith goes unrecorded. When you chose to forgive instead of retaliate, the heavens leaned closer. when you served others while your own heart was breaking. The angels rejoiced. You were living proof that love still wins in a broken world. We are reminded through the words of David's Psalm, chapter 56, verse 8, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book." That verse is not poetry, it's reality. Heaven has a record of every hidden ache, every silent prayer. Every night you cried yourself to sleep, but still said, "God, I trust you." Your name is written beside those moments. Heaven has been keeping track, not because it enjoys your pain, but because it's preparing your portion. Chosen one, what you endured privately is now shifting publicly. The things that once broke you are about to bless you. The wounds that once silenced you are now becoming wells of wisdom. You will speak from scars that carry healing. You will move in grace that carries evidence. You didn't just survive, you taught heaven what endurance looks like in human form. Every test you passed without even knowing was shaping your crown. You have become the blueprint for divine resilience. You have shown what it means to stand when standing hurts. And now, the season of remembrance has begun. Heaven is moving in your favor. Not because you asked perfectly, but because you stayed faithful quietly. This is the moment when the invisible records of heaven start manifesting as visible blessings on earth. The reward is not coming, it's already been released. You are walking into what your tears paid for. Beloved, there are blessings with your name already written on them. There are doors waiting for your knock, favor waiting for your arrival, and breakthroughs already scheduled on heaven's calendar. You passed the test when no one was looking. And now the whole world will see the fruit of what you endured unseen. You might not feel ready, but heaven says you are. You might still feel tired, but strength is rising. You might still wonder, was it worth it? And the answer is yes. Because every second of pain built something eternal inside you. Chosen one. If your heart feels this word, take a moment to acknowledge it. Heaven is responding to your endurance right now. And as a prophetic act of faith, type the number 999 inches, the comments below. That number isn't random, it represents completion, divine finality, and transition into reward. When you write it, you're declaring, my testing season has been fulfilled. My reward season begins now. This is not superstition, it's alignment. It's agreement with what heaven already decreed about you. Let the simple act of typing that number be your amen. Your public acknowledgement that you believe what heaven believes about you, that you have been seen, counted, and approved. Every seed of faith you've sown is about to bloom. Every tear you've shed is about to be turned into testimony. Heaven has taken note, and heaven has begun to respond. The waiting is over. The reward is written. You passed without even knowing. And now, chosen one, your story becomes the evidence of God's unfailing memory. Nothing you've suffered is forgotten. Nothing you've endured is wasted. You are about to see what heaven does when it remembers. Chosen one, there are things happening around you right now that you cannot see. While you go about your days, while you breathe through the aftermath of trials, heaven is moving. The unseen realm is alive with motion, angelic messengers, divine instructions, whispers from the throne passing through eternity to reach your story. You are not waiting alone. Heaven is working in silence. It may not feel like it, but reports about your life are being delivered before God's throne. Every act of endurance, every moment of faithfulness, every instance of obedience that seemed to go unnoticed has been recorded. The angels assigned to your destiny have carried these reports upward, declaring, "This one did not bow. This one did not break. This one still believes." You need to understand what that means. Chosen one. When angels report, heaven responds. It's not poetry, it's divine order. Every spiritual act of endurance triggers a heavenly reaction. There is a system in the spirit where loyalty is rewarded and persistence is recognized. You have caused movement in heaven's government by your simple decision to keep walking. The heavens are not still concerning you. While you were weeping, there was worship rising on your behalf. While you felt unseen, your name was being spoken in the presence of the Almighty. The angels who watched you resist temptation now stand before the throne, and they speak your name with reverence. They testify of your faith. Chosen one. When you cried, "God, where are you?" the answer was never silence, it was motion. Heaven was already sending help, already dispatching new strength, already preparing restoration. But divine processes operate in dimensions beyond time, and what feels delayed to you is perfectly timed in eternity. Heaven is never late, it's always layered. Every delay you felt was heaven positioning pieces that must align for your promise to manifest without loss. You have not been ignored, you have been represented. You have ambassadors in heaven, messengers who stand in holy light and speak of your perseverance. And the Father listens. He nods. He releases decrees in response to the testimony of your endurance. That is why you have not been consumed by the battles you faced. Each time the darkness tried to overtake you, a counter-command was spoken. Protect this one. Strengthen this one. Keep this one. That's why you're still here. That's why you can still feel purpose pulling at your heart, even after everything. Heaven's protection did not end when the test began, it intensified. You are shielded by words spoken in divine courts, by the advocacy of Christ, who stands and declares your name with unshakable love. We are reminded through the ancient words recorded in Daniel, chapter 10, verse 12. Then he said to me, "Do not be afraid, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come in response to them. So it is with you, chosen one. From the first day you prayed, heaven heard. From the first moment you wept, heaven recorded. From the first whisper of surrender, angels were sent. Just because you didn't see movement doesn't mean nothing happened. There is always movement behind the curtain of time. While you doubted, angels were fighting battles you couldn't comprehend. They stood against resistance on your behalf. You may have thought you were losing, but heaven was winning for you. Every unseen battle was evidence that your destiny carries weight. The more resistance you felt, the more valuable your calling truly is. Chosen one. Heaven's attention is not easily earned, but your faith drew it. The angels who report about you do so with joy, because your obedience has become their testimony. They have witnessed humanity at its purest, fragile but faithful, wounded but worshipping, tired but trusting. You have become a living message that even in suffering, the divine spark still burns. This is what your endurance has done. It has stirred the heavens. You may not see the reports being written, but you are living under their effect. every new opportunity, every moment of inexplicable peace, every door that opens in your favor is the manifestation of those reports being read before the throne. Heaven knows your name. Chosen one, not because of fame or accomplishment, but because of faithfulness. You have been spoken of among angels, celebrated among witnesses, and cherished by the one who formed you. So when the next challenge comes, and it will remember this truth, you are never unseen. Even when no one on earth acknowledges your efforts, heaven already has. The angels who report about you are still watching, still writing, still rejoicing. Let this bring you peace. You do not need to prove yourself. You do not need to strive for recognition. The highest court in existence has already acknowledged you. Heaven's record of your faith cannot be erased. Your endurance has become testimony. Your tears have become intercession. And your name has become a song in the heavens, a melody of loyalty that will never fade. Chosen one. The moment came when the divine books were opened. What was once hidden has been brought before the throne. Every act of obedience, every unspoken prayer, every quiet choice to trust instead of turning away, all of it has been recorded in eternity. Nothing you've done for love, for faith, or for God has gone unnoticed. The pages of heaven remember what even your own memory has forgotten. In that sacred courtroom of light, there are records that carry your name. Angels open them, line by line, revealing evidence of your endurance. The moments when you stood in storms, the times you forgave what you could have cursed, the seasons you kept going with a broken heart, each one is there, preserved by divine hand. Heaven does not record fame, it records faithfulness. That is what fills the pages written about you. There is a book that carries your tears, another that holds your promises, another that bears your destiny. Heaven has archived your story not as tragedy, but as testimony. Every entry in those records speaks of victory, of grace overcoming grief, of faith overcoming fear, of light outlasting darkness. Chosen one, God Himself, has looked upon those records and signed His approval. The King has reviewed the evidence of your life and declared it worthy of reward. It's not because you were flawless, but because you were faithful. The decree has already gone forth. Heaven's reward is now assigned to your name. This is the mystery of divine justice. While the world measures success by visible outcomes, heaven measures it by invisible obedience. You didn't need to be seen to be celebrated. The applause of heaven is silent but sure. It doesn't echo through crowds, it resounds through eternity. And right now, that sound is attached to your name. In the stillness, God wrote something over your story, redeemed, approved, rewarded. What you thought was wasted will now return multiplied. What you thought was over will begin again, transformed. You cannot see the full picture yet, but heaven has already finished painting it. There is a balance in heaven's law. Every tear sown must yield a harvest of joy. Every loss endured must produce restoration. The spiritual scales tilt in favor of those who refuse to give up. You have lived with integrity when no one was watching. And now, heaven moves to honor that. We are reminded through the words recorded in Revelation chapter 20, verse 12, "And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were opened. Another book was opened, which is the book of life. The dead were judged according to what they had done, as recorded in the books. Chosen one. Understand this. Those books are not just for judgment, they are for remembrance. When heaven opens its records, it is not to condemn you, but to confirm you. The entries written about you are not filled with failure, but with evidence of mercy. Every time you repented, grace was written in red across your page. Every time you trusted again, faith was added in gold. You are not defined by the mistakes you made, but by the grace you accepted. God has reviewed your record and found you steadfast. He has declared that what was meant to destroy you has instead qualified you. The test didn't disqualify you, it confirmed your calling. The handwriting of heaven over your life now reads, "This one endured." When those divine books open, the past is not held against you, it becomes part of the masterpiece. Your trials are no longer stains, they are brushstrokes of redemption. Heaven's record keepers don't write in ink, they write in eternity. What is written there cannot be erased, for it is sealed by the blood of the Lamb. Chosen one. You are standing in the aftermath of divine documentation. Every new season of favor begins in the invisible archives of heaven. When God reviews your record, He doesn't just restore what was lost, He multiplies what was sown. The things you did in secret, He will now reward in the open. The divine decree has gone forth. The moment heaven reviewed your life, the order for restoration was released. What you thought was delayed was simply awaiting divine confirmation. You didn't lose time, you gained testimony. The waiting became the witness that your faith is real. And now, as those books close once more, something begins to move. The reward you've long prayed for starts aligning itself with your steps. Doors you didn't even knock on will begin to open. Peace you never expected will start to surround you, not because of chance, but because heaven has recorded your endurance as righteousness. Rest now. Chosen one. You don't need to strive to be seen. You are already written in heaven's history. The record is complete. The decree is signed. And the reward is already unfolding. You are not forgotten, you are remembered in the highest place. Chosen one. Something is shifting in the unseen right now. The long season of silence, testing, and hidden refinement is giving way to a new atmosphere, a divine transition. The winds have changed direction. You may not have noticed it yet, but the heaviness that once sat on your chest is beginning to lift. Heaven is announcing that your testing time has expired. Every spiritual season has an appointed end. The wilderness doesn't last forever. The valley doesn't hold you permanently. You have reached the threshold where endurance meets reward. The season that once broke you is now bowing before the purpose it built in you. The timing of heaven is precise. When it moves, nothing can resist it. What you are sensing lately, the restlessness, the inner stirring, is not anxiety, it's alignment. Heaven is rearranging your path to prepare for the release that has already been written. You are being repositioned for fulfillment. The same God who tested your faith is now trusting you with manifestation. Chosen one. There is divine movement surrounding your life. What once seemed stagnant is now in motion. The things you thought were dead are breathing again. Dreams that slept for years are stirring in your spirit. People who were meant to connect with your calling are being drawn to your light. Nothing is random anymore. Everything is divine choreography. The key is to recognize the shift without fear. Many miss their moment because they confuse change with chaos. But for you, this change is not destruction, it's delivery. Heaven is birthing what it promised. The contractions of discomfort were never meant to kill you. They were meant to push you into purpose. We are reminded through the wisdom of Solomon. Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. This is your time, chosen one. The page is turning, and the ink is fresh with new beginnings. Every closed door now serves as a testimony that you were never meant to stay there. Every disappointment was divine direction. Every delay was preparation for perfect timing. You've been through enough seasons of pruning to recognize growth when it starts to bloom. This is not random favor, it's earned grace. The discipline you built in silence is now drawing divine recognition. You've proven that you can handle blessing without pride, increase without arrogance, and visibility without losing humility. That's why heaven can trust you with more. The spiritual shift won't always look dramatic. Sometimes it appears subtly, a conversation that changes everything. A small opportunity that opens great doors. A sense of peace after years of striving. Those small moments are the footprints of God. Don't overlook them. They are signs that heaven's timeline is catching up to your faith. Beloved, the transition might feel uncertain, but it is sacred. You are not losing stability, you are gaining direction. You're not leaving something behind, you're stepping into what was always promised. The weight you carried has done its work. The faith you held has fulfilled its purpose. Now, it's time to walk in reward, not worry. Heaven has already shifted the atmosphere around you. The people, places, and patterns that no longer serve your calling will start to fall away. Don't mourn what leaves, make room for what's arriving. You are stepping into a phase where peace will feel unfamiliar at first, because you've lived so long in battle. But rest is not weakness, it is a reward. This is the divine exchange, your pain for purpose, your waiting for wisdom, your trials for testimony. What was hard will now serve as the proof of your faith. The time you thought was wasted is returning multiplied. The same heaven that tested you is now celebrating you. Chosen one. As this word finds you, pause and let it sink deep. You are not behind schedule, you are right on time. You have completed your appointed season, and the new one has already begun. The shift isn't coming, it's here. Declare it boldly as a sign of agreement with heaven's timing. Comment below, "It's my time." Let those 3 words anchor in your spirit. When you write them, you're not typing a phrase, you're aligning with prophecy. You're telling every doubt, delay, and darkness that your appointed season has arrived. You're announcing to heaven and earth that you are ready to walk in what was promised. Say it with faith, "It's my time." Time for peace to replace pressure. Time for clarity to replace confusion. Time for favor to replace frustration. Heaven has moved on your behalf, and the evidence will follow swiftly. Chosen one. The wait was never wasted. It was preparation for the moment you're now stepping into. Every hidden battle was proof that you could handle visible blessing. Now rise, breathe, and move forward. Heaven has spoken, and your season has shifted. Chosen one. You've come a long way from where you began. The journey that once felt endless is now revealing its purpose. You are no longer being tested, you are being trusted. The very trials that once seemed like punishment were, in truth, heaven's preparation to see if you could carry weight without wavering. And now, you've proven that you can. God's trust is not granted lightly. It's earned through the furnace of endurance. through nights of silence and days of perseverance. Every moment you remained faithful in the shadows. Every time you obeyed without understanding, you showed heaven that your loyalty was genuine. Now, the season has shifted. You are entering a new level where God begins to entrust you with what He once only promised. This is the moment where testing transforms into stewardship. The wilderness built your wisdom. Now you'll use that wisdom to lead others out of theirs. You were being refined not just for yourself, but for everyone who will draw strength from your story. The next phase of your life isn't about survival, it's about service. Chosen one. Heaven trusts you with more because you've proven you won't misuse what's holy. You've learned that blessing is not a trophy, it's a tool. And God only places tools of transformation in the hands of those who've been shaped by humility. You've walked through enough breaking to understand the weight of grace. When heaven trusts you, it begins to release what was once withheld. The opportunities, the connections, the resources, they begin to align. But this time, you'll approach them differently. You won't rush, you'll recognize. You won't grasp, you'll steward. You've learned that divine timing is better than instant gratification. You've learned that character is greater than comfort. We are reminded through the words of Jesus himself. Luke, chapter 16, verse 10. Whoever is faithful with very little will be faithful with much. Whoever is dishonest with little is dishonest with much. Chosen one. You have passed the little test. You stayed faithful with what was small, your quiet prayers, your unseen obedience, your humble acts of kindness. And now, God is enlarging your territory. The same hands that once trembled in weakness will now carry influence. The same voice that cried out in silence will now speak with authority. But remember, this trust is sacred. The weight of blessing can be heavier than the weight of pain if handled without wisdom. That's why you went through so much refining, so you could carry abundance without arrogance. You are not being elevated to be admired. You are being entrusted to be effective. This is where your calling meets clarity. The fog of confusion is lifting. The questions that haunted you in your wilderness now have answers written in your scars. You will begin to understand why certain doors stayed closed, why certain people had to leave, why certain seasons felt endless. Every piece fits now, and it all points toward purpose. Beloved, when God trusts you, He begins to accelerate your path. You'll notice divine speed replacing stagnation. What took years to build before will now come together in moments. Not because you're striving, but because you're aligned. The waiting season has prepared you to handle sudden movement with steady faith. Now, as you step into this phase, take a moment to honor the journey. Look at how far you've come, not in pride, but in gratitude. Heaven has seen every step. And this word comes to remind you, you are trusted now. If this message finds a place in your heart, pause for a second. Like this message, not as routine, but as reverence, as a way of saying, I recognize what heaven has done in me. Share it. Not for numbers, but because someone else might be standing in the same valley you just walked out of. You never know whose heart your light will reach. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to stay connected. This space isn't about content, it's about connection. Each message is a reminder that heaven still speaks, that God still sees, and that you're not walking this journey alone. When you stay close, you stay covered. Chosen one. Heaven's trust is the highest honor a soul can receive. You've been proven faithful. And now, you're being positioned for favor. Carry it humbly. Walk with gentleness, but also with strength. You are no longer a student in the storm, you are a steward of grace. Let gratitude be your guide, humility your anchor, and love your language. The one who trusted you with pain now trusts you with purpose. This next chapter is not about striving, it's about shining quietly, faithfully, powerfully. You have been trusted with much because you were faithful with little. And that trust, chosen one, will open doors that no human hand can shut. Chosen one. There are moments when the reward of obedience arrives, clothed in disguise. It doesn't always enter your life wrapped in celebration or comfort. Sometimes it comes as change. Sometimes it comes as peace after years of war. Sometimes it comes as silence that suddenly feels safe instead of suffocating. That's how divine rewards often appear quietly, subtly, like dawn light sneaking through the cracks of a long night. The reward of heaven is rarely about material gain. It's about revelation. You begin to see yourself through God's eyes instead of the world's. You begin to understand that the things which once broke you were never meant to destroy you, they were meant to define you. That's the hidden reward clarity. You no longer question your identity, you walk in it. You no longer chase validation, you rest in purpose. Chosen one. You've spent so much time feeling unseen that when the blessings finally begin to unfold, you almost doubt them. You ask, why now? Why me? But heaven smiles at those questions because your heart has stayed pure. The blessings are not payback, they are proof of alignment. You have been synchronized with heaven's timing, and now favor begins to flow effortlessly. Yet, be gentle with yourself as this shift unfolds. Sometimes divine rewards appear in forms you don't recognize. You may lose what you once thought was vital, only to discover that loss was the doorway to gain. You may have to release something familiar to receive something eternal. The kingdom's mathematics never add up by human logic. God multiplies through subtraction, elevates through humility, and rewards through obedience. When you begin to see blessings manifest in unexpected ways, remember this truth: not every good thing that appears is the reward. Sometimes the reward is what stays after everything else fades. Peace, discernment, wisdom, these are the treasures no thief can steal. And you, chosen one, have earned them through years of spiritual endurance. Heaven's rewards are layered. There's an outer blessing that touches your circumstances and an inner one that transforms your soul. The outer may bring opportunity, but the inner brings overflow. That's why you've been pruned so carefully, so that when favor arrives, it finds you ready, not reckless. We are reminded through the words of Joseph's story, which still echoes across time. Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. That verse describes the essence of your reward. The things that once wounded you have now become the very tools heaven uses to bless others through you. Your pain has turned prophetic. What was once loss now carries the fragrance of redemption. Chosen one. The reward doesn't always change your surroundings first. It changes your sight. You begin to notice grace in the mundane, purpose in the pauses, and lessons in what others call loss. You become the kind of person who can walk through storms and still see stars. That's transformation. That's the true evidence of divine reward. This is why your spirit feels different now. There's a quiet authority in you that wasn't there before. You don't react as quickly. You don't panic as easily. You speak with peace, not pressure. That's the sign of maturity, heaven's greatest reward for faithfulness. The more you walk in this new light, the more you'll realize that your blessings are not random, they are reflections of who you've become. You no longer chase opportunities. Opportunities now recognize your preparation. What once frightened you now feels familiar, because you've learned to trust the process. You've walked long enough with pain to know it always ends in purpose. And though the world may not see it, heaven sees the shift in your spirit. Angels move differently around those who have passed through fire and emerged refined. There's a glow about those who have endured and remained kind. A fragrance of faith that lingers in every space they enter. That fragrance now follows you. The reward, chosen one, is not just what you receive, it's who you've become. You are more discerning, more compassionate, more grounded in truth. You carry the wisdom that only pain can teach, and the peace that only surrender can sustain. That is your divine inheritance, a soul anchored in grace. Don't be surprised if those around you notice the change but can't explain it. They will say, "Something about you feels different," and you'll smile, because you'll know it's not difference, it's depth. You've been deepened by divine dealings. You've been reshaped by unseen hands. The reward in disguise is already here. It lives in your new calm, your renewed vision, and your restored confidence. It's the stillness in your spirit that no storm can shake. That is the mark of those who have passed their tests. Rest in it. Chosen one. You don't need to strive anymore. The fight has fulfilled its purpose. The reward is not ahead, it's already unfolding within you. Chosen one. This is the hour when confirmation begins to manifest, not through people's words, but through divine orchestration. You will start to notice patterns forming around you that are too specific to be coincidence. The right conversations, unexpected opportunities, prophetic reminders all aligning at once as heaven whispers, "It's time." The delays that once felt endless now reveal their design. You'll see how every detour was a setup. Every disappointment was redirection. And every silent night was preparation for this visible shift. The alignment is subtle, yet undeniable. Your spirit will recognize it before your eyes do. It's the inner knowing that says, something is moving, something is being fulfilled. Chosen one. This is what prophetic confirmation looks like. It's not loud, it's layered. Heaven doesn't always announce blessings with thunder. It often speaks through divine timing, divine encounters, divine order. You've been faithful through the fog, and now you'll begin to see with clarity. The very signs you once begged for will start to appear effortlessly. Sometimes confirmation comes through repetition. You'll hear a phrase twice, see the same verse multiple times, or encounter the same word in different places. That's not the algorithm, it's alignment. Heaven is echoing your promise back to you until you believe it fully. Other times, confirmation comes through peace, not through the absence of problems, but through the presence of assurance. The chaos around you may not vanish, yet something inside you becomes still. You'll suddenly know that what you prayed for is already in motion, that the waiting was not wasted, and that you are right where you're meant to be. Prophetic confirmation is heaven's way of saying, I haven't forgotten you. And in this moment, it's not simply about a promise, it's about fulfillment. You are stepping into the living evidence of prayers answered in unexpected ways. We are reminded through the writings of the prophet Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. For the revelation awaits an appointed time, it speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it, it will certainly come and will not delay. Chosen one, that appointed time has arrived. What once lingered is now leaping toward you. The words spoken over your life long ago, those quiet prophecies whispered to your heart, are unfolding. The alignment of heaven and earth has reached maturity. You are about to see confirmation not as a hint, but as manifestation. Pay attention in this season. The smallest details carry divine messages. The conversation that encourages you out of nowhere. The number that keeps repeating. The moment of peace in the middle of chaos. These are heaven's fingerprints. God does not play games with his children. When he confirms, he does so with precision. You are about to walk into rooms that once felt unreachable. You will reconnect with people who were meant to be part of your destiny, but had to leave for a time. You'll find that doors you once knocked on without answer now open effortlessly. The very atmosphere around you is rearranging to reflect what's been written about you in heaven's books. But remember, confirmation isn't the end, it's the beginning of acceleration. Once God confirms, he moves quickly. What took years to build will suddenly unfold in days. That's not luck, that's divine order, catching up to divine promise. And you, chosen one, are standing in the middle of it. Let your heart stay steady as everything begins to change. Don't doubt the suddenness. Heaven has been preparing this for longer than you realize. The quick shift you're about to experience is the result of years of unseen alignment. You're not stepping into something new, you're stepping into what's been waiting for you all along. Chosen one. This is your sign when the confirmation appears. Respond with faith, not fear. Receive it as the divine yes you've been waiting for. Let it anchor you, not startle you. When you feel the urge to question it, remember you prayed for this. You waited for this. And now, it's here. If this word resonates deep in your spirit, seal it as your prophetic act. Type the number 444 inches, the comments below. This number is more than digits, it symbolizes divine order, angelic confirmation, and heavenly completion. It's a way of saying, I receive the signs, I recognize the alignment, I walk in agreement with heaven's timing. By writing it, you're declaring that you trust God's design, even in the details. Let this simple act become your silent amen. Your acknowledgement that you see what heaven is revealing. The signs around you are not small, they are signals, and every one of them points toward fulfillment. Chosen one, breathe. You don't have to force what's already forming. The alignment is here. The confirmation is clear, and the fulfillment has begun. You are stepping into the visible evidence of God's invisible promises, and this time, you'll know without a doubt that heaven meant every word it ever spoke over you. Chosen one, this is the moment when what was spoken in secret begins to echo in public. The same people who once questioned your endurance will now witness the evidence of divine favor on your life. The season of quiet cultivation has produced visible fruit. You no longer have to explain your journey. Your transformation speaks for itself. There was a time when you felt invisible, as though your faith was unnoticed and your obedience unrewarded. Yet, all along, Heaven was building a stage you didn't know existed. You weren't being hidden to be forgotten. You were being hidden to be revealed at the right moment. Now, that moment is here. The rise of the chosen is never subtle. It's humble, yes, but unmistakable. God does not elevate to inflate ego. He elevates to vindicate purpose. The tables are turning, not as revenge, but as revelation. Those who misunderstood you will see that grace was guarding you the whole time. Chosen one, you are about to witness divine reversal. The rejection that once wounded you will become the very proof of God's protection. What you thought was loss will reveal itself as redirection. The doors that closed were never punishment, they were preservation. Heaven was preventing access to people and places that couldn't handle your anointing. Now, the unveiling begins. The same crowd that doubted your call will be forced to admit, surely, the hand of God is upon this one, not because of wealth, not because of worldly power, but because of peace, the undeniable, unshakable peace that only those favored by heaven carry. We are reminded through the words of David, the shepherd king who knew the weight of both obscurity and elevation. Psalm chapter 23, verse 5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. That scripture is your present reality. Chosen one, the table has been set. The anointing is evident. The overflow has begun. God does not remove your enemies before blessing you. He blesses you in front of them. That's how he displays his justice, by turning your pain into public proof. Your enemies will not just see your rise, they will witness your peace. And that will confuse them more than any success could. Because what they tried to wound, heaven has healed. What they tried to silence, heaven has strengthened. You are the embodiment of Isaiah's promise, beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, strength for weakness. Chosen one, this vindication isn't about proving anyone wrong, it's about proving God right. The same voice that whispered to your spirit in the dark now resounds in the open. The words that once felt distant are manifesting in the daylight. You will no longer wonder if you heard correctly, you'll know you did. There's something sacred about divine elevation. It carries humility instead of pride, gratitude instead of greed. You won't have to announce what God has done. Your peace will announce it for you. The glow of restoration is unmistakable. People will notice that you move differently, not in arrogance, but in awareness. You carry the stillness of someone who's seen both storms and sunrise and now trusts the process completely. When the light of favor falls upon your life, remain grounded. Remember what built you: obedience, faith, patience, and love. These are the foundations that keep divine elevation from becoming human pride. Never forget that you rose not by power or manipulation, but by mercy. Heaven exalts those who endure in humility. You were tested in silence and found faithful. You were refined in obscurity and found steadfast. That's why you are being raised in visibility. The same faith that sustained you in hidden places now qualifies you for influence in open spaces. Your rise will not humiliate others, it will inspire them. Some will be convicted, others comforted, but all will be reminded that God honors perseverance. Your life is becoming a living sermon about what faith can accomplish when it refuses to die in delay. Chosen one, as your elevation unfolds, remember that visibility is responsibility. The light that shines on you now is not meant to blind others, but to guide them. Those who once mocked your waiting will soon come seeking your wisdom. Handle their return with grace. The same compassion that carried you will now flow through you. There's a tenderness in those who have walked through trials and still chosen love. That tenderness will be your crown. It's what separates pride from purpose. You won't need to defend your story, God has already done that. The stage that once belonged to your pain now belongs to your purpose. The spotlight that once exposed your weakness now illuminates your wisdom. And as you rise, remember, this is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of impact. Chosen one. Your victory is not loud, it's luminous. It glows in silence, radiates through kindness, and shines brightest when you give glory where it's due. The world will see your success, but heaven will see your surrender. That's what keeps the crown secure. You have endured, you have been tested, and now you are being trusted with visibility. The same God who anointed you in private is now presenting you in public. The elevation is not random, it's redemption revealed. Chosen one. There comes a time when the testing ceases and the crown is placed. Not the kind of crown that glitters for attention, but one forged in quiet endurance, tempered in obedience, and polished by tears. You have reached that hour. The heavens have watched your loyalty, and the King has spoken. Crown this one. It is not a crown of pride, but of purpose. It does not sit upon the head to boast, it rests there to signify victory. Every hardship you faced was preparing your spirit to carry this new mantle. You were not being punished, you were being prepared for authority. The crown is not merely a symbol, it's a transfer of divine responsibility. When God crowns a soul, the atmosphere shifts. You begin to carry weight in unseen realms. Your words hold influence. Your prayers pierce darkness differently. Heaven recognizes you as one who has endured the refining fires without rebellion. The crown declares that you have graduated from testing into trust. Chosen one. Your endurance was never about survival, it was about succession. You have been entrusted with wisdom born of pain, empathy born of brokenness, strength born of surrender. You now walk as a vessel of heaven's authority, carrying the fragrance of grace wherever you go. This is the crown of endurance that Scripture speaks of, a mark of those who remained faithful even when weary. You are no longer the same. The fire that once tried to consume you has instead become your light. It glows quietly within you, guiding others who are still walking through their own nights. This is why the crown matters. It is not given for your comfort, but for your calling. You have been authorized to lead by example, to walk as living proof that suffering refines, not ruins. We are reminded through the words of Paul to Timothy, 2 Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8, "Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing." That verse is your reality. Chosen one, the crown of righteousness, endurance, and authority is now upon you, not one made of metal, but of mercy. It signifies that heaven has found you steadfast. You stood firm when others fled. You stayed soft when bitterness beckoned. You believed when everything around you said to give up. The crown is also a calling to responsibility. It means you will now carry not only your own testimony, but also the strength of those who will follow. You will be the one who shows that brokenness is not the end. you will speak with power, not because of position, but because your authority was purchased through suffering. Heaven crowns those who have been crushed but refuse to curse their Maker. You are part of that sacred company. The oil that flows from your life will heal those who come near you. You will find yourself comforting others with the same comfort heaven gave you. The very experiences that once embarrassed you will now empower you to restore others. Chosen one. The crown fits differently when it's forged through pain. It's lighter than pride, but heavier than applause. It reminds you not of victory over others, but of victory over yourself, over doubt, despair, fear, and anger. That is what true royalty in the kingdom looks like, humility wrapped in power. The authority resting on you now is quiet yet undeniable. When you walk into rooms, the atmosphere shifts not because of your presence, but because of the presence you carry. You have become a conduit for peace, a bearer of truth, a carrier of light. You are not merely chosen, you are commissioned. This crown is also protection. It guards your thoughts, aligns your desires, and keeps you anchored in purpose. No longer will you be swayed by every wind of uncertainty. You have clarity now. The lessons of the wilderness have given you discernment. The trials of your past have trained your spirit to recognize deception and to resist distraction. The angels who once stood beside you in your battles now stand behind you as witnesses to your coronation. They know what it cost you to stand. They know what it took to keep believing. They rejoice as the Father declares, "Well done." The heavens celebrate not because you are flawless, but because you are faithful. Your crown is not an ending, it's a beginning. You will walk with new confidence, not in yourself, but in the one who sustained you. The journey has shifted from endurance to influence. The authority you carry is meant to illuminate others, not dominate them. Wear your crown gently. Chosen one, let it remind you daily that you are not ordinary. You are a vessel of divine endurance, a living example of what grace can do through perseverance. The path ahead will still hold battles, but they will no longer break you. You now fight from victory, not for it. Heaven's crown upon your head is heaven's signature over your story completed. Purified, empowered, you are crowned not as a conqueror of men, but as a guardian of mercy. And wherever you walk, light will follow. Chosen one. Every reward carries a responsibility. Every crown placed by heaven comes with the weight of purpose. You have not been elevated for applause, but for assignment. The same God who rewarded your endurance now calls you to steward that reward with wisdom, compassion, and courage. Favor is never meant to be stored, it's meant to flow. You see, many desire the blessing but not the burden that comes with it. Yet you, chosen one, are different. You understand that divine reward isn't just for comfort, it's for commission. You've been entrusted with peace so you can extend it. You've been given wisdom so you can guide others through the storms you once survived. Your story is no longer just about what you endured, it's about what you'll empower. The new level of blessing you've stepped into will require new levels of discernment. Not every open door will be divine, and not every invitation will carry grace. Heaven has given you a sharper spirit to sense what is pure and what is poison. You'll begin to recognize opportunities that align with your calling and walk away from those that don't with peace, not guilt. This is maturity. Chosen one. You've been refined to the point where your peace has become your compass. You no longer chase recognition, you carry revelation. You no longer beg for belonging, you walk in purpose. That is what it means to be trusted with reward. We are reminded through the words of Peter, written to the faithful. 1 Peter, chapter 4, verse 10. Use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its forms. That is your divine instruction. The grace that has carried you is now to be shared through you. Your pain was never wasted, it was preparation for empathy. You will soon find yourself being a voice for those who feel voiceless, a light to those still trapped in shadows. The same comfort that once healed you will now flow from you. Chosen one. Heaven trusts you because you've proven you can carry blessings without losing humility. But remember, the more you rise, the more you'll need to remain rooted. Never forget the valleys that taught you how to stand. They are the reason your crown fits correctly, they shaped your character. This next season will feel both peaceful and powerful. You'll experience open doors, favor, and influence. But you'll also feel the gentle tug of heaven reminding you, stay aligned. The same hands that blessed you will continue to guide you. The same spirit that sustained you in storms will sustain you in sunlight. Now, pause for a moment. Chosen one, look at how far you've come. Every tear, every heartbreak, every unanswered question, it all led to this. You are living proof that obedience outlasts opposition. Heaven's hand is still on you, and it's leading you forward with purpose. If this word stirs something deep within you, take a moment to respond, not out of habit, but from your heart. Like this message, if it reminds you of what heaven has done for you, let that simple act be your quiet thank you. Share it if you feel someone else may need to remember that their waiting is not wasted. Sometimes, the very message that saved you is the one you're meant to send. You never know whose hope might be reignited through your willingness to share light. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, not for content, but for connection. This space isn't just about words, it's a sanctuary of purpose. Every message here is crafted with prayer and intention to strengthen your spirit, remind you of your worth, and help you walk in divine rhythm. Stay close to this flow of grace. Stay anchored in this community of light. Finally, let your voice be heard. Leave a comment below, not just a reaction, but a reflection. What has heaven been whispering to your heart through these words? What part of your spirit is awakening as you read this? Your testimony matters, because it gives others permission to believe again. Sometimes, the very comment you write will be the confirmation someone else has been praying for. Chosen one, you are now walking in a sacred balance of reward and responsibility. The oil upon your life was not poured for you alone, it's meant to anoint others. Keep walking gently, leading with love, and speaking from authenticity. Heaven's eyes are still on you, not as a test, but as trust. You are being watched with pride, not scrutiny. You are living proof that grace can grow through grief, that hope can bloom after heartbreak, and that faith, when tended carefully, always yields fruit. So go forth with your heart open and your crown steady. You are not done, you are being multiplied. What you've received, you will now release. That's the rhythm of heaven. Freely you have received, freely you will give. Chosen one, you are now walking in the fulfillment of promises once whispered to your heart in secret. The waiting has ended, and the unfolding has begun. But fulfillment is not a single moment. It is a rhythm, a flow, a gentle revealing of what has always been written about you. It arrives quietly, like dawn light spreading across familiar ground, illuminating everything that was once hidden. This is the season of peace after pressure. The ground beneath you no longer trembles with uncertainty, because your roots have gone deep. You've learned that peace is not the absence of challenges, it's the presence of clarity. You've come to understand that true fulfillment doesn't come when everything changes around you, but when everything aligns within you. Chosen one. You are no longer striving to prove yourself. The striving season was necessary, but it's over now. The fruit you see around you, the calm, the stability, the inner confidence is the evidence of divine completion. You have grown into the version of yourself that heaven always intended. The process may have been long, but it has brought you here whole, grounded, and awake. There's something sacred about this peace you now carry. It's not loud, yet it commands attention. It's not dramatic, yet it transforms the atmosphere wherever you go. You move differently now, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You've learned that silence can be a weapon, that stillness can be strategy, that peace can be power. When people look at you, they may not understand the quiet strength that radiates from your spirit, but heaven knows. Every scar that once throbbed with pain has become a channel for light. Every lesson you learned in sorrow has turned into a well of discernment. You now walk as one who has seen the depths and still chosen love. Fulfillment doesn't erase your history, it redeems it. Every hardship has been woven into something purposeful. The things that once made you cry now make you grateful. You can look back without bitterness because you see how everything worked together for good. You are living proof that purpose doesn't come from perfection, it comes from perseverance. We are reminded through the words of the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper, not harm, to give hope and future. Chosen one. This is your reality now. The plans of heaven have unfolded not suddenly, but steadily. You've reached the point where what once confused you now comforts you. You understand why certain prayers went unanswered, because God was answering them in a better way. You see how every ending was secretly an introduction to a new beginning. The fulfillment you walk in now is not fragile, it's fortified. It's built on the foundation of patience, anchored by faith, and protected by gratitude. You are not easily shaken because you have already survived the shaking. You've learned to find contentment not in what you have, but in who you've become. The storms of your past have made you steady. You no longer fear sudden change, you recognize it as divine movement. You've seen how God can turn ashes into beauty, pain into wisdom, waiting into worship. That knowledge has become your unbreakable peace. Chosen one. Fulfillment is not about reaching a destination, it's about resting in divine rhythm. You no longer chase what's yours, it flows to you. You no longer fear losing what you love. You trust that what's meant for you can never be taken. You've matured beyond anxiety into assurance. This is the reward for endurance, not abundance without, but alignment within. You are in harmony with heaven's heartbeat. You don't need to strive for miracles. Your very existence is one. The light you carry is not borrowed, it's born. The world around you may still be chaotic, but you found serenity that can't be stolen. You are now the calm in every storm. The evidence that faith is not fantasy, but foundation. You walk with quiet authority because you know that grace is guiding every step. Chosen one. This peace is permanent because it was not purchased by comfort, but by conviction. You've learned that surrender doesn't mean defeat, it means destiny. The fulfillment you live in now is the result of trusting when trust hurt, believing when belief felt impossible, and loving even when love cost you. So walk gently, confidently, and gratefully. You are no longer waiting for purpose, you are walking in it. You have become a living prophecy fulfilled, a promise realized, a reflection of divine faithfulness. Heaven smiles when it looks at you, for you are proof that every plan, no matter how painful, leads to peace when God is at the center. Chosen one. The heavens stand still when a journey completes. There is a sacred quiet that follows obedience, a silence not of absence but of awe. You have reached that place. You have walked through fire and flood, through heartbreak and healing, and you now stand as one who has seen the full circle of divine purpose. You are the evidence that nothing surrendered to God is ever truly lost. Heaven rejoices, not because you have arrived at perfection, but because you have arrived at peace. The long road that once seemed endless has now opened into a wide field of grace. You no longer run, you rest. You no longer wrestle, you rise. Everything that once felt like a burden now feels like a blessing, because your eyes have learned to see through the lens of eternity. Chosen one. This is the moment heaven acknowledges the completion of your test and the beginning of your testimony. You have become the message. Your life now speaks without needing words. Where once there was confusion, there is clarity. Where once there was fear, there is faith. You have been transformed from survivor to steward, from broken vessel to beacon of light. This divine acknowledgement is not fleeting, it is eternal. Heaven remembers the names of those who endure. The angels who walked beside you in darkness now sing of your endurance in light. The story of your faith echoes in realms beyond your understanding, testifying that even in weakness, grace can make a soul unshakable. We are reminded through the words of Christ himself, Matthew, chapter 25, verse 21, his master replied, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness." Those words, once distant, are now personal. Heaven's voice speaks them over you. The faithfulness you showed in little things has been seen, recorded, and rewarded. You are not simply being applauded, you are being entrusted. Divine responsibility now flows through your life. You will carry grace into places that have forgotten it, and peace into hearts that have never known it. Chosen one. The acknowledgement of heaven is unlike the applause of men. It doesn't fade, it transforms. It reshapes your identity until everything in you reflects the one who called you. You've been refined into a mirror of divine mercy. When people encounter you, they encounter kindness that feels ancient, wisdom that feels weightless, and love that feels unconditional. That's the mark of those who have passed through divine testing. They become living evidence of redemption. Heaven's acknowledgement is not always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper in your spirit that says, "I am pleased." Sometimes it's the way peace settles over you like a mantle after years of chaos. Sometimes it's the way your prayers now feel less like requests and more like conversations. That quiet closeness is the true reward. It's the nearness of God. This is the legacy of the faithful, to live as light in a world still learning to see. Your journey has qualified you to lead not by authority, but by authenticity. You have learned that humility carries more weight than power, and that grace outlasts glory. Every scar you bear now tells a story not of defeat, but of divine deliverance. Chosen one, your name has been spoken in heaven. The Father has declared you faithful. The Son has called you his own, and the Spirit has sealed you for purpose. You are no longer striving for favor, you are standing in it. The glow around your life is not decoration, it's declaration. It proclaims that God's promises are true and his timing is perfect. There will still be new battles, but none will break you. There will still be challenges, but you'll face them with calm assurance. You are no longer the one who prays for strength, you are strength. The same fire that once threatened to consume you now burns within you as holy passion. You've been transformed from embers into flame, from learner into leader. As heaven acknowledges your journey, the earth will begin to echo that same recognition. Doors will open without force. People will find healing in your presence. Words you speak will carry weight because they come from a place of proven faith. You have become what you once prayed for, a vessel that carries both truth and tenderness. Chosen one, this is your eternal acknowledgement. You have been faithful, and heaven is pleased. The sound of those words is not just for today, it echoes through eternity. The story of your endurance will be told in unseen realms, inspiring others who must one day walk their own valley. You have finished a major test, but your influence has just begun. Walk in this light without fear. You have been seen, sealed, and sent. Heaven's acknowledgement is not the end of your journey, it is the confirmation that everything from this point forward flows from victory, not toward it. You are the chosen, marked and remembered forever. Chosen one. Breathe deeply for a moment and look at what heaven has done. You have journeyed from testing to triumph, from silence to song. Every line of this message was written not to entertain your mind, but to awaken your spirit. You have remembered who you are, heaven's beloved, God's living evidence, the one who refused to quit when quitting looked easiest. Now, as these words come to a close, a new beginning opens. The story of your life continues beyond this page. Walk with the peace that no circumstance can shake, with the certainty that divine eyes still follow every step. You are not an echo of the past, you are the sound of promise fulfilled. If this message has stirred something holy within you, take a quiet moment to respond, like this message, as your way of saying, I receive what heaven has spoken. When you do, it's more than a gesture, it's gratitude in action. Share it with someone whose spirit may be flickering in the dark. You never know which heart might reignite simply by reading the words that once revived yours. And comment below what part of this journey touched you most. Let your reflection be a seed of encouragement to another chosen one who may be reading in silence, searching for hope. Sometimes, your story becomes another soul's sign that God still moves. If you haven't yet, subscribe and stay connected to this flow of faith. This space isn't just a collection of messages, it's a meeting place for those being refined, restored, and reignited. Each new word that comes will carry more light, more truth, more strength. You have walked through the fire and found your flame. Keep it burning. Chosen one, the world needs your light.